Kelly Roach, welcome to the show.
So excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I am, as I've just been talking about, so excited to have you. I have been in your world and you've been a mentor of mine for probably more than 5 years. But for those who are just new to you, could you just give a little background on your business journey, please?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I started my first company in 2012. And for the last 10 plus years, I've been helping entrepreneurs build six, seven, and eight-figure businesses in the online world. And my first company, I was able to grow to over eight figures. We were on the Inc. 5000 list multiple times, built a top 1% podcast, couple best-selling books. Started and grew five other companies. Now I have a portfolio of six. And my obsession is helping people make their dreams come true. So, my mission of my life, all of my work, all of my companies, everything that I do is really about just empowering people with the tools, the strategies, and the mindset to make their dreams a reality and to leverage the power of entrepreneurship in order to do it.
And I'm one of those people, Callie, truly. I think it was maybe we spent 2 months in Asia, my family and I, at the start of this year, and I'm walking along the beach going, oh my gosh, everything I wanted is
Yeah.
actually is here. And you've
Mhm.
been such a big part of that. So thank you as one of those people.
Yeah.
And I know there's many thousands more around the world. Um, and now you are homeschooling. So this
Yes.
interview is a part of the World School Summit.
Yeah.
And we have daughters the same age. I think Madison and my eldest are around the same age. And so, what initially inspired you to choose homeschooling now?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, our kids are our greatest gift and they are the future. And, my daughter is my greatest treasure in my life. And, I think that the purpose of entrepreneurship is freedom. And what could be more freeing than being able to give your time and treasure and talent to your own children, right? To empower the next generation. So, for us, there were so many elements of why we started considering this path. I think that, first and foremost, we wanted to be more involved. We wanted to be more hands on in what our daughter was learning and who she was becoming. And, for me, I wanted to be a part of her faith development on a daily and weekly basis. I really wanted to be hands on in that. Um, for me as a business leader and entrepreneur, I did not see that even in private schools, very good schools, that they were really empowering our children with the real world skills, communication, speaking, business, entrepreneurship, investing, that are really the everyday invaluable skill sets that our children are going to use for the rest of our lives. So I could go on for hours
Mm.
probably about all of the reasons, but there were many. And, now here we are a few months in, and I can honestly say it's the best decision we've ever made. It wasn't an easy transition. It's a big commitment because Billy and I are actually like doing a lot of the homeschooling ourselves. We have a few tutors that we bring in, but both him and I do a lot of the homeschooling ourselves. But it's been really fantastic. Great decision.
Yeah, we're about 2 years in, so
Mhm.
we said the same thing.
Yeah.
Were people's responses what you expected because you are a public figure, because you are so well educated yourself, like you deal with really high level executives at all
Yeah.
levels? Was that was their response what
So
you expected?
I don't know what I expected. I feel like Billy and I have always kind of marched to the beat of our own drum. We've been together for 18 years. I feel like our life and the way that we have built our family and everything that we've ever done has kind of just been our own unique path. But I will tell you, we really got two different responses from groups of people, right? And I don't really think either of one of them were really accurate. One group of people was like, "Oh, you're going to homeschool? You're going to pull her out of school? How is she going to socialize? This is going to be this," and there's all these like feelings and thoughts and opinions from that perspective, which we know if you actually like research homeschooling, it's not like that at all. She has a friend over right now. She's with her friends every weekend. She's with her friends at the dance studio every night of the week. I ain't worried about that. But so one group was like very concerned for her and for us. And then the other group was entrepreneurs who were like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. I would love to do that, but I could never do that. And I'm like, yes, you could. And it doesn't need to be you. I think a lot of people, when they think of homeschool, they think like, that the dynamic of their relationship with their children, or maybe they don't feel confident in their own skills to be instructional, with their children. But there's just, there's a massive movement globally to create flexible and adaptable schooling environments now. There's massive communities, there's co-ops, there's so many teachers that now want to be private tutors instead of work in the education system. So I think a lot of people that would love to homeschool don't, because they're overwhelmed at the thought that they would be the teacher with their children. We chose to do that because we want to. It was a big reason why we're homeschooling. We didn't want to homeschool just to have other teachers teach. However, for a lot of people, a better fit for them may be a co-op or a pod or bringing in tutors or whatever the case. And I think right now, one of the most important things that we can do is like spread the word about all of the different options and all of the resources and communities out there, because I think a lot of people have the desire, but they have kind of a limited perception of what that could look like for them.
I think people just remember pandemic version homeschooling when no one knew what
Yeah,
they were doing and we were forced to do school
for
at
sure.
home, and it was
Yeah,
horrendous for everyone trying to juggle
yeah,
work and like
for
not
sure.
planned. And I think
Yeah,
it's the scarring around that, to be
yeah,
honest, that they're like, I couldn't do that. It sounds horrible. I'm like, yeah, that version was horrible.
yeah.
Um, so how are you approaching the curriculum? You mentioned getting in a few tutors and things. So is it a bit of an eclectic mix, or is there something you've really found that you love?
Yeah. So Billy uses the Abika textbook system, and he teaches the traditional subjects. He does geography and, all of that stuff, the traditional, core,
Mhm.
let's call it core
Mhm.
subjects. She's already skipped a year in math, and we've been doing this for a couple months now. And she's working with a private tutor on that, that works with gifted students. So that's kind of been that. On my side of things, I am obviously teaching business from my own teachings, right? So not only am I doing one-on-one sessions with her, but I actually have her now sit in on a lot of my program calls in my program. So she's participating in my programs. We are following, we're doing a faith development program right now using some of Stacey Wallace's materials, who's a leader in the Christian world. So that's been really great, and we'll rotate through all different materials for that. And she's actually doing the TEDx speaker series right now, learning about public speaking. So from my perspective, I really didn't want to lock into a specific curriculum. I really
Mhm.
wanted the freedom to be able to pick and choose more of the skill or outcome that I wanted her to learn, and then pick resources to support that. We joined a program called the Wealthy Kids Investment Club that teaches kids about investing. So she's doing that. That's been phenomenal. It's a few bucks a month. And it's just a great learning system. It's stuff I didn't learn until I was like in my 30s. But unfortunately, if you wait until you're in your 30s to start investing, you've missed 30 years of compounding, right? Which is something
Mm.
that we all wish we had had access to a lot earlier. So, yeah, so very big mix of resources. But I mean, that's the other thing that's so cool about what's available to us now. It is endless possibilities, endless possibilities as far as the online resources that are available and the things that you can choose, for your
Mm.
kids, and also allow them to explore topics that interest them as well.
I found it totally amazing. I found there was a site that had university subjects, and my daughter loves
Yep.
marine biology. So she's doing uni marine biology classes, and
Great.
it's just incredible
Yeah.
when you see the scope. But Kelly, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, Madison being in your programs from now, I can't even, I'm so
Yeah.
excited for her.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's really getting it. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, kids are sponges, right? They can learn so
Yeah.
much. And, I say to her all the time, I care the person that you are and who you're being and how you show up in the world and how you conduct yourself. But what she decides to become, what she decides to do, Who knows? I don't
Mm.
know. I'm not going to instruct on that. I just want to equip her with the tools to be able to have a freedom of choice.
Yeah, amazing. And that's, I think, what most of us want. We're like, as long as you're kind, like as long as you're a nice
Yes.
human, the rest
Yes.
really will fall
Exactly.
into place.
Exactly.
So have you found, so for me, I'm finding now with my oldest that the friends part is more important. So for 2 years, I've been able to not have to connect her in so much. Do you find that that is being solved for you with Madison being so involved in dance?
That's been a big part of it. So I mean, we were really lucky. She really made some nice friends in the school that she was in before she just transitioned. So like for her, she's still super connected to those friends. You know, I really
Mm,
make an effort to try and plan something every weekend for her to be able to spend time with her friends. But yeah, she does get the social element at dance in the evenings, so that's really nice as well. And that's just going to be something that we're going to have to take one day at a time. You know, like I
yeah.
don't know how it's going to go. We've been very blessed that it's been very easy up until now, but I have no idea what the future holds, and we're just going to have to take it one day at a time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm workshopping at the moment. I'm like, how can I embed more of your like group so you do more group work
Yeah,
and that kind of thing
yeah,
and exploring that
yeah,
because I
yeah.
can see that that is going to be something that she needs more. So
Hmm.
I'm asking everyone that question at the moment, going,
Yeah,
how are we doing this for our girls?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so what about your schedule? Because I know that you plan everything in advance, you're very
yeah.
structured with how you spend your time. How has that changed that still allows you to run six companies?
Yeah, yeah. So on Tuesdays, I don't work in my companies at all until after Madison goes to dance. So on Tuesdays, I'm 100% focused on her instruction. So Billy does Mondays and Wednesdays. I do Tuesdays and Thursdays. On Thursdays, she's basically on calls with me most of the day. And then I debrief with her in between and kind of talk about what did you learn? What can you put into action? You know, that kind of thing. So it's less of me like instructing her and it's more of her listening and then us talking about application. Whereas on Tuesday, I'm like actually sitting with her one on one, you know, for, you know, maybe 4 hours before she gets ready, you know, and heads over to dance. And then for me, I'll do some work, you know, once she's at dance for the night. She's in a pretty intense program. So she'll be there usually from like 4:30 to 8:30 most nights, which I think is also a really important part of her development because having to have a very high level of discipline and coachability and working towards really specific things like mentally and physically, I think is very important as well. She chose that. I did not choose that. I came from that same background. I love dance. I spent every night growing up at the studio just like she is now. I didn't know whether or not she would want that for herself, but she really did. I can't imagine her doing that if she was in traditional school all day, every day, and then going to dance for 4 hours at night. I don't see how that would
Mm,
work. So it was really interesting that she started that program this year, and it just so happened that that happened. Um, but yeah, so for me, for my schedule, I've had to just be like a lot more efficient and empower my team to lead more, to manage more, and you know, just be flexible, you know, so that when I'm with her, I can really give that time and attention.
yeah, I think it does take less time than we think because there's so
Yeah,
much lost time at school
for
with,
sure. For sure.
that's just, oh, we're cleaning up the classroom and,
Yeah,
all of the little bits and pieces.
for sure.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that's really helpful to just to hear other people's practical examples about how they run it and then go, oh yeah, that might work for me and try that on.
Hmm.
Um, how would you encourage other people? I know you work with a lot of entrepreneurs. Most people listening to this are entrepreneurs or they want to be. Um, how would you encourage them to think about productivity and time management if they're considering homeschooling? Because I think a lot of people go like, I can't do it. My plate's too full.
Yeah, I mean, I think well, first of all, I think that encouraging and empowering your kids to get involved in activities that mean something to them, that are going to give them a focus, right? What keeps kids out of trouble is when they have something that they are working towards that matters to them, that means something to them, that is requiring mental, physical, emotional investment from them, right? And that's why, you know, typically when you look at adults, people that are high achievers, many times they had either a sport or a craft or something in their life that was a driving force that they were dedicated to, that they were working towards over a long period of time. So I think that a lot of parents, when they think about wanting to homeschool, they're like, oh, well, I don't have the time. I couldn't do that, you know, whatever, whatever. But also, you're not, homeschooling takes about 3 hours a day, number one. Okay. And that is for kids to advance past their grade level. Like, they will
Mm.
blow testing out of the water if they get 3 hours a day of instruction in a pod setting or a homeschool setting or whatever the case, number one. Number two, if you're a parent and you've been thinking about doing this, it's not like you have to do everything. You can just pick maybe one or two things that really matter to you that you want to be the instructor on. And then you can have tutors for other things that come into your home, or your kids can go to a co-op. A lot of parents have their kids go to a co-op 1 or 2 days a week. And that's why I would say, if you have any inkling, if you're an entrepreneur and you have any inkling of wanting to change things up for your child in this way, you know, start doing research, because what you'll realize is, like, it's not this one-dimensional thing where it's like, oh, you need to be free to sit, you know, with your child 8 hours a day, and you're not going to be able to run your business in order to do this. I actually have a lot of students in my programs and leaders that are in my coaching programs that also homeschool. And a huge benefit is that their kids get to see and listen and hear what they're doing. And this was a huge thing for me. And this was another big reason for my decision. I was finding that I was working so hard to get done work by the time Madison got home from school that Madison was never getting any exposure to my business. Now, when she was young, before she started school, she would be with me all the time. She would hear me on camera. She would sit on my lap during my lives. She was getting all this exposure, and it was great. Then she went to school and she was getting zero. And I was like, wait a second. How is she ever going to net any positive benefit of having a mom that's a leader and a business owner if she has no exposure to what I'm doing? So that's the other thing I would tell parents is, they think they have to, like, entertain and occupy their kids the whole time. Part of homeschool should be them literally sitting and listening to your calls and listening to your meetings and observing what you're doing in your business. That is the education. That is so, I mean, I see how much Madison learns when she comes to a meeting with me, or she comes to a photo shoot, or she sits in on my calls. That's an education in and of itself. So I would really encourage parents, one, to do your research, because there are so many options, and it's not you sitting there for 7 or 8 hours a
Mm.
day. And I agree with you. I think so many parents have in their mind the idea of, like, what COVID was, and it's not that. It is nothing like that. And two, I think that whenever you have, you know, it's universal law, right? Things are going to expand and take as much time as you give it. So all that's going to happen in your business is when you say, okay, on Tuesday and Thursday, I'm going to be spending the first half of the day focused on homeschool, and I'm going to have the second half of the day focused on the business. Guess what? You're going to figure out how you need to be more efficient and how you're going to make that work to fit that into that second half of the day.
Yeah, I think you just become more focused and efficient,
Yeah,
because like they
exactly.
waste time in school, we waste time in our
Yeah,
business, we waste time in life. Like,
100%.
yeah, I think I've definitely just become more structured, but
Yeah.
that gives us the freedom that we want. So
Yeah.
it's perfect. Okay, so what I noticed around, and the reason that I decided to put the summit on last year and do it again this year, is that when people want to travel and homeschool, typically that doesn't work with a job. And so a lot of people who want to travel or who take a gap year or something realize that, oh my gosh, what I really need is to have my own business. And pretty much everything, I mean, I got a business degree, but everything I learned that was useful about business, I learned from you, in terms like
Mhm.
timeless business principles that,
Yeah.
that have been able, I can't even talk, that have enabled me to build my business to where it is now. And so how do you support people in those earlier stages in your programs to get a business off the ground? Because so many people who want to homeschool and travel need to have a business.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I didn't have this back when you initially worked with me. I only had super high ticket coaching consulting programs, which I still have, obviously. I still have all of my programs and companies that I did, but I've expanded a lot since then. And one of my big missions was to make business education accessible to everyone and to allow people to start and grow businesses without going into debt and without taking enormous investments so that they can spend money on things like building a team and advertising and all of that. So I launched something called the Virtual Business School. And the Virtual Business School you can join for like $600 for the entire year. And it is to teach entrepreneurs the fast foundations of profitable business growth. It's really to give people the basic fundamentals of how to get a business growing. And we have people both from startup that are early stage all the way through people that have been in business for 15, 20 years in the program. But it is really it is the counter to expensive business degrees and to very high end coaching programs that are a fit for people that can maximize them. They're a fit for people that can, support it, but that's not everyone. Sometimes people need a bit of a jump start, especially if they're starting something brand new. They don't have a business background. And so the virtual business school gives a business module every month that teaches you the foundations of growth. It gives you a marketing masterclass to teach you how to market and sell in your business. We do a co-working session where you come and implement and get support from the team, and a Q&A. And there's so many elements, like there's so much support in it, but it has just gone bonkers. Like this is the first year we did it. We already have over 600 people that have joined. And, the goal, like I said, is to make business growth accessible for anyone at any stage of business. And then people that want to move to the next step and want to get more hands-on support, then they can come work with me in one of our coaching and consulting programs inside the business advisory or, whatever the case.
Amazing. That sounds
Yeah.
incredible. People
Yeah.
honestly get on that if that is
Yeah.
you, because I don't work with startups, but I know how important that it is to live a
Yeah.
life of freedom, to have your own business and how powerful that
Yeah.
is, and to get to have your family home with you. It's just the most
Yeah.
beautiful thing if you want
It
that.
is.
And it's totally achievable if you
For
want
sure.
that. And so yeah, go and learn from Callie, please, people. I promise you will not. It will be definitely a worthwhile investment. I know that you're also quite private on social media in terms of your personal life. What is your approach then to personal branding? Because I know
Yeah.
a lot of people too struggle with that. I don't want to be on social media. I don't want to put my life out there.
Yeah.
So I'd just love for you to speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you pick and choose the elements of your life that you want to share. And I think everyone has a right to do that. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people that they live on social media. Their whole life is on social media. They document everything that they do, their every event of their life, every time they change their clothing, every time they eat a meal, whatever. That would be my personal hell. Like, I cannot even imagine that life. In fact, most of the time when I'm spending time with friends or family, I leave my phone at home very intentionally. If you're documenting and taking pictures and videos of something, that means that you're not actually present in the moment. So for me, I'm very, very intentional about doing content creation and making sure that I have very high levels of consistency and frequency in value add that I share to people. And, for me, although I'm not going to share what I ate for breakfast, you're not going to do get ready with me every day, you're not going to be seeing my outfit changes. I do share from a personal brand standpoint the things that are my values, that are the essence of how I lead my companies, how I manage my life, all of those things. And so for me, that's things like family first, it's faith development, it's, decisions about how I prioritize things like homeschooling my daughter or retiring my husband. So I am very selective about what I share intentionally. And that's just what works for me. It's what works for my family. But I think that you can still build an enormous platform from your personal brand by picking and choosing the core values that are the essence of what your brand is about and sharing around those things consistently.
Yeah, amazing answer. Yeah, I think that
Mhm.
highlighting the values part and that the essence is enough to then, as I'm
Yeah.
reflecting, show people who you are without showing them
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
amazing. Hopefully that's helpful for people.
Yeah.
Where do you see the future of education and entrepreneurship heading, given that we have so many more options now than we did even, 10 years ago?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, I mean, I think like what I'm doing with the virtual business school, like that is the future of business education. Like I feel like people for so many years have been going into debt and getting these advanced degrees in business just to learn that the things that they were told in theory don't work in actuality. So I think that it's going to be up to entrepreneurs to create solutions for entrepreneurs. From the standpoint of education, I mean, there's a revolution going on right now with education, and millions of people are taking back stewarding their children's education. And so I think that definitely over the next 10 years, we're going to witness a total transformation of how education is perceived, how it's managed. I think it will become the norm that, one out of every two people that you speak to, one might be in traditional and one is doing some type of alternative education. I especially see this with leaders and entrepreneurs. So the people that are high up in companies and the people that are running their own businesses, they see that it is not an optimal environment for their children to be in the traditional system. And so they're taking that proactive action. So yeah, I mean, I think we're going to witness a complete transformation of the education system in the next 10 years. And I think it's very much needed.
Yeah, so exciting. Do you
Hmm.
think that you'll have something for kids, Kelly?
So I have six companies right now. One of them is Give Her Courage, which we
Yeah.
do have the Courage Club, which we're relaunching in 2025. We've had that for years. We paused on it. We're bringing it back again. I am sure I will do more in the educational space for kids. I did promise myself I was not going to launch any new companies for 5 years. That was my promise to myself
Okay.
because I am right now scaling them. I'm elevating the
Mhm.
leaders in them. They're all working through the growth process. So I'm going to give myself 5 years. But I definitely, I am very passionate about education. I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship, and I'm very passionate about the next generation. So I'm sure you'll see me somewhere.
Yeah, I hope so. Imagine if our kids can learn from you, Kelly.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so how do you define success? Either, I guess I was going to say business and life, but they're so intertwined, right? So I'll leave it
Yeah,
there.
I mean, it's really two core. That's not true. It's three things, right? So number one is contribution. So I want to be spending my life uh, contributing to the world. I want to, it's spending my time and energy doing things that are going to impact other people in a positive way. So that's number one. Number two is success is when what's on the inside matches what you're doing on the outside, right? It's congruency. It's congruency in your life, in your spirit, in your heart, with your life. And then for me, it's being able to really prioritize my family and my faith, and be able to build great things, but not lose perspective on the only place that I'm irreplaceable, and that's at home.
Mm, amazing. Thank
Hmm.
you. What a good answer. Let's leave it there. Thank you very much, Kelly, for spending the time. Is there anything else that you would like to say that we didn't cover for the families that are running a business, really wanting to travel and explore the world and homeschool their kids?
I mean, I would just say the possibilities are absolutely endless. Everything's at your fingertips. Um, whatever your mind can conceive, there is a path to achieve. So it's really just about like, don't just think it in your mind, think it and then do something about it, because there is someone somewhere that is probably already a few steps ahead of you that you can learn from and make what your vision is a reality.
Thank you. Thank you so much for spending the time today, for sharing yourself with us. And yeah, thank you for all that you're doing in the world.
So happy to do it. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you, Kelly.
You are
So
so welcome.
you'll,
I hope that'll be great for your people.
I'm sure it will. Yeah. Really nice to connect with you again.
Yeah, you too. And what you should come back and get in our world
I
sometime.
will. I will have to check out what's going on. Again,
You should.
I've been in the execution bubble of
And that's
just,
great. And I mean, some, yeah,
yeah,
you definitely, that's just as important. That's just as important. But yeah, if you're ready to get back into something, you should, get in touch and see. We've expanded a lot and we've added a
yeah,
lot of different companies that focus on different things, and we have a lot more
yeah,
kind of options now. So,
yeah, yeah. I still listen to the podcast and
oh,
yeah,
good. Oh, I'm so glad. That's awesome.
yeah. I think
Really
you're one
good.
of the only people that is so intelligent and strategic, and yet I resonate with your approach so much, and I know that it works
Thank you.
because it has worked for me.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I'm so glad to hear
it's a very
that.
clear cut voice where it's you're always honest and always you don't sugarcoat things. You're just
Yeah.
straight down the line, but with integrity and kindness
Thank you.
and honesty. So yeah, I really appreciate you and thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Well, that is
And
the goal. Absolutely. So thank you so much for listening to the show. And
yeah, of course.
yeah, so I will get you this recording and
Amazing.
then let us know when you're taking it live, and then like let Gabby know and
Yeah,
we'll promote it and share it as well.
of course. Amazing. Thank you, Kelly. All the
Sure.
best.
It's
Have a
great to
wonderful
see you.
weekend.
So glad you're doing well. Take
Yeah,
care.
thanks.